Okay, guys, welcome. This is the Creating Novel CBD Formulations panel. Today, my name is John Rolke. I work for Extract Consultants. I'm going to be the moderator today, and well, I think the first thing we're going to do is let everybody introduce themselves so you two have a good idea as far as what we do and how we might be able to help you guys. So my name is John Rolke. I work for Extract Consultants. We provide botanical terpenes, all natural, non-GMO, and also flavors to help CBD companies out post-extraction with their tinctures, topicals, edibles, and vaporizer carts. So that's, I'm the national salesman.
Hi, how you two doing? Welcome. I'm Keith Spence of Botanically Correct. I do CBD formulations with honeys, salves, and tinctures. We work with making them really work. I only use full spectrum right now, and that just people feel it. So I just try to get people to feel better with the product and know that it works. And that starts with the formulations, because you can make it taste good or taste really bad. I was paralyzed through a brain injury, and the cannabinoids that I worked with, I've got off all prescription drugs, all seizure medications, all pain medications, and how it helped me. And then I started formulating in to get it better for other people. I find that the people that I try to go to is the elderly, older animals, older people, because they get a better benefit out of the CBD than I think the younger people really do, because they get a little bit of their youth back. And you can do that with the formulations, with the cause and effect that you talked about earlier. Yeah.
Hi, is that loud? I'm Arlene French. I work with Keith in formulations, and my background's in engineering, QA, and tax law. And I met Keith and saw what he could do, and got super interested in CBD and that. So my passion has been in magic and magical formulations, and here we got witchcraft, and here we got aromatherapy. Okay, so I've been doing this for years and years, and finding that the principles of and John, thanks for using that word. Even it's that the same principles carry forward into the helpful wellness value of different oils and the botanicals. So I help blend the topicals with Keith.
Hi, my name is Ted Reynolds. I've been in the industry for about 6 years on the extraction and formulation side, and particularly the last couple years with distributing a technology called the dual asymmetric centrifuge that many companies use for formulating. So for the past couple years, I've helped dozens of companies at all levels create new products and processes to optimize their production.
Good afternoon. My name is Tyrell Toll. I have a PhD in medicinal natural products chemistry from the University of Iowa. Since I graduated, I've basically been in the cannabis industry for the last about 7 years now. Began with developing new extraction methodologies, and then began to get into the analytical side of cannabis and ran a cannabis quality assurance laboratory in Washington State for about 1.5 years. And then for the last almost 4 years, I've been here in Denver at a company called MedFarm Holdings. We're a research company, research-focused company. Actually, the first recipients of a state-level research license in Colorado. Actually, still the only ones as well. But we do also have products that we sell into the recreational and medical marketplaces under the brands Batch, Become, and Alleviar.
Thanks, everybody. So as you guys can see, we got a nice variety of people up here that can really help in a lot of different areas of your business. So I'm going to start by asking these people some questions, some general questions. If anybody has a question they'd like to ask, we're in no order here. Feel free to raise your hand. There's a microphone right over there. Or since we're in a little bit of a smaller audience, just yell it out. It'll be okay. The first thing I kind of want to bring up, and it's kind of a generic question, but I always like to hear people's thoughts on it. And we'll start with Keith and just work our way down. What are you guys seeing as far as trends with the CBD products out there in the marketplace? It could be, it could be delivery devices, it could be types of formulas, cause and effect, so give us some insight, please.
I see the trend leading to they're trying to get the THC out, and they're doing the broad spectrum more because of testing and people that are in certain jobs that can't have the THC. So in your business, what you do with the terpenes, putting it back in the right amount, I think they can feel it. I think the trend is just they're getting this THC out of the plant for the people with the medicinal properties for CBD.
Right, Arlene?
Yeah, to that end, we see a lot of the isolates or the broad spectrums. To me, the stronger tinctures are going to be broad spectrum because of that issue and hitting the numbers. So we have to keep it under 0.3, and to get the higher concentrations, then it becomes more of a trick. So I like to see it going back to the full spectrum, back to the wholeness of the plant, and hopefully that's the small craft made like we are, versus a larger industrialization of you're just pumping that out for what it's worth.
I think one of the biggest trends I've noticed is the fragmentation of delivery methods, as well as the inclusion of other ingredients, other functional ingredients, adaptogens, and things of that nature to address more specific goals, wellness goals. As far as delivery, where you see nano-type products, transdermals, nasal sprays. There's just about every way of consumption I think you can think of. Some taken from the pharmaceutical world that is available now, and I think we'll see that continue as people continually get more creative on how to increase bioavailability or ease of use for the end consumer.
Yeah, I think the biggest trend that I see in cannabis is a hunger for novelty. So there's always what's new, what's the next combination, what's the next delivery device, the overarching theme to me is just what's new, and everybody kind of spasmodically jumps from one thing to the next, it almost seems, before anything really gains hold. And so, you kind of saw that play out with the 2018 Farm Bill, and then suddenly a bunch of farmers planted huge fields of hemp and got all this hemp and CBD, but then there's nobody to sell it to because the market demand hadn't caught up. And so they found creative ways of synthesizing, for example, Delta-8 THC as a way to make it more exciting and new again. To sell more products. So this isn't necessarily an overall healthy trend, I guess, this thirst for novelty, but it is a big trend.
Can I ask my colleague here, so in a different delivery system, can we expect that we could have a lower dose, and that kind of solves the problem of, say, detection, like in, say, my government job, I would be tested, and now they're lightening that up a little bit. It used to be you can't even take CBD. Now the announcement is you must take CBD that's less than 0.3%, otherwise you might pee hot, if you will. But I think that could alleviate some of that problem, because the bioavailability that you touched on seems to be the barrier from getting the full benefit of this. Are there other additives or have you seen say the nasal sprays that have a better bioavailability? Yeah.
With those advanced delivery methods, you definitely need a lot less to accomplish what would take quite a bit, maybe even hundreds of milligrams, just taken orally, like with a tincture and edible. And so I'm not quite sure that will overcome the testing issue that some people have. It'll definitely help because it'll be ultimately less THC being ingested in a full or broad spectrum product. I think ultimately the only safe play for people that have any kind of THC concerns is frankly to use a CBD isolate, only a THC-free product, no matter the delivery mechanism.
One of the things that we're seeing at Extract Consultants is, and you guys, each of you kind of touched on a little bit, is we're seeing a lot more cause and effect driven CBD formulations. It's getting away from the general CBD capsule or tincture where it's more of a general health, and people are using other additives, whether it be terpenes or flavors or other cannabinoids to help drive certain causes and effect. So we're seeing that as a big trend from the terpene and flavor side of it. And, kind of to Tyrell's point a little bit, I don't think that one's going away, though. I think that's probably where it should go at the end of the day. So we help a lot of people in that area in the lab developing those formulations that they want to, sleep, happy, things like that. And I think we're seeing that's where it's really going. The next question I have is, those are my thoughts on cause and effect tinctures. Guys, what are your thoughts on those types of products compared to just a general CBD capsule or tincture? Do you think that that's the wave?
Yeah, I think they're infusing the isolate of CBN in a lot of the nighttime tinctures, things like that, and melatonin, putting it in. And I see those as a cause and effect, good sleep. Some of the terpenes are, like you said, lifting. They're adding terpenes back in because they're starting with basically an isolate or a distillate that doesn't have much in it. If you don't have those in, it's not going to the right proper places. So they're adding those in now for the cause and effect that you want.
Do you see it as effective to add other elements,
Like melatonin?
Like melatonin, or I put chamomile or something like that? To me, do we really know the interactions between the different botanicals and even in between themselves and with the CBD? So, is there really an enhanced efficacy for adding the other botanicals now? I could see like adding CBN, increasing CBN component of that, and that we know that works. I think we know it works because most of it's experiential, right?
Yeah, I didn't quite hear what you said. You're wondering about the efficacy?
Yeah, it's hard to hear back and forth here.
If you're asking about the efficacy, a good way to think about the way that terpenes work with your CBD and THC, and we spoke about this a little earlier. Your CBD, your CBNs, your CBHs, your THCs, those are the engine of the cannabis plant. Your terpenes, they're the steering wheel. They kind of take that engine, that drive where you want it to be, whether it's sleepy, awake, energy, stuff like that. Tyrell, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so herbal mixtures have been used with success for thousands of years, and so this is nothing new. Yep. On the one hand, and so there's definitely very beneficial herbal mixtures that can be made, and with cannabinoids, some different things that come to mind are, CBD is known to help with sleep, so is kava, so but by different mechanisms, so could putting them together work better. But we do also have to be a little bit cautious with this because there are known herbal mixtures that you shouldn't have, and one of the big offenders that even with pharmaceuticals is grapefruit. You'll get a prescription and it'll say don't eat grapefruit, because it's going to totally mess up the metabolism, and you could have an overdose of the drug. So a lot of mixtures are good, but we do need to have a rational and a cautious approach as well.
So, Tyrell, I have a question on that, especially with using grapefruit, because this is something I've thought about for a few years, is if you could actually use that, implement it for the benefit of improving the effect of a cannabinoid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a totally viable option to slow down the degradation of the cannabinoids that you take as a strategy for not only increasing the effect, but also increasing the amount of time that it remains in your body. that would be a very interesting approach, very viable.
Yeah, we see fragrance and flavor really do help drive a lot of cause and effect too. I know the gentleman was in my panel earlier, and you know, it's something we've been trained our whole lives to associate certain flavors with certain cause and effect. So, you know, when you're building a novel CBD formulation and you want to have it be for sleep, make sure that you have an associated flavor with that. You don't want it to be orange,
Right.
right? I mean, that's orange juice. That's what we drink in the morning, right? You go to a hotel room, a fancy hotel, and they do turn down service. What's sitting on your pillow? Usually a chocolate mint, right? So maybe you want to have a nice chocolatey mint flavor for a sleepy type of formula. You know, these are, and also don't have a bright white box with sunshines on it. If you're doing a sleep formula, you know, have an appropriate looking box. Everything should scream your cause and effect at the end of it. So yeah, that was great, guys.
I'd like
So part of this is, you know, building novel CBD formulations is getting proper components into your lab. Well, part of that is looking for your vendors, looking for the right vendors who will help drive your ideas. So Keith, when you're looking for a vendor, what are some of the things you look for in a vendor?
I look for the quality of the plants that they're extracting, what cannabinoids come in the mix, because I source the extract and I process it and formulate it into my tinctures, my honeys, and everything like that. So yeah, I'm just looking for the quality of the product that they're making. Make sure it has what I want.
They absolutely have to have a QA plan and accountability.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably the most important in seeking vendors is the due diligence on their quality systems in place, so that you can ensure that you have a high quality product always.
High quality, good testing, those are all important. But just to be realistic, in the hemp marketplace right now, there's not very reliable or robust testing system in place where you can be extremely confident that what it says on the label is what you're getting. There are definitely brands that, you know, are going to gain a reputation for being accurate and careful with their analysis, but as of right now, particularly with minor cannabinoids other than CBD, if you're interested in them, I do recommend that you go to a regulated marketplace where they are tested, where there are license holders who are accountable. Their livelihood is dependent upon maintaining their licenses so they can sell into those restrictive marketplaces, and so they're not, usually are not as, what would you call that, brash or whatever. They're going to be a little bit more cautious with what they're doing. They're going to follow the rules in general. Everything's tested, so you can be much more confident of what you see on the label being accurate. So yeah, that's just kind of my little pitch to stick with the regulated market if you can, because there is a lot more accountability.
Do you feel we could go to an industry voluntary standard like electrical engineering, IEEE or ASME would have a quality standard that we could agree to in an industry? And so when we say quality, my stuff's the best. It's the best quality. You know, definitionally, how do we prove that? And when I'm looking at the lab, I could see their facility. I could see how how their employees are moving around, and kind of the cleanliness, et cetera, of that. So that gives me an indication. Otherwise, I don't know that they have a checklist, other than they do have certifications. They do have testing and how they calibrate and all that kind of stuff, depending on how deep you go. But what have you found? Do you think there is there a quality standard that this industry is adopted, or is it kind of a laissez-faire?
I'd say it's kind of a hodgepodge, and you have groups like the ASTM that are trying to create standards for the industry to implement. And then, of course, we kind of have the framework the FDA has outlined for, herbal and botanical products and dietary supplements. And so the FDA has actually come out recently and with their draft guidance for cannabis products, and it's pretty much identical to what the dietary supplements are, and the processes for ensuring quality and tracking and notifications and stuff like that. So I'd say right now it's still really early on in standardization across the board. Many people are doing the same things but very differently, and that's good and bad. It spurs innovation in some cases, but at the same time, it would be helpful to have standardized products for consumer protection.
Ted, to dovetail on that a little bit, I actually, my space is that vendor, right? So when you guys are looking for vendors, that's why I like to ask that question. I would say make sure that any of your products that you're bringing into your lab, make sure that they have third-party testing, make sure that they have full regulatory support, C of A's, SDS, TDS, food grade certifications if possible. Be very careful bringing products in from outside of our space. I work with people that will use flavoring from food and beverage companies, and they do not go through the same strict regulatory standards that cannabis does. People do not understand this, but your most expensive baby food, organic baby food in Whole Foods, and the most expensive produce, organic in Whole Foods, has so much more garbage on it than any legal marijuana product in the marketplace. It's unbelievable. So people come to me and go, well, I got this flavor and it's FDA. I'm like, well, great, man, that's not even come close to touching the standards that marijuana has. So if you are dealing with flavor companies or stuff outside of the marijuana space, make sure you're doing your due diligence, getting it pesticide tested and heavy metal testing, right? And then another thing that I think is very important when choosing vendors, make sure they align with your ideals. Make sure that they can bring your ideas and what you want for your brand to the forefront. Don't let them hammer your square peg into a round hole, right? Stick to your guns and make sure that they align with your products. Okay. So I guess I'm going to open this up for a couple of questions, unless there's something else anybody else up here would like to comment on.
Well, I guess this was a great idea by Arlene. I don't think we're there yet with an independent certifying body that's because that body itself would have to have many other independent certifications, probably ISO certifications and others that demonstrate that they're capable of being the certifying body for a hemp manufacturer, for example, that's making a product. The USP symbol on your vitamins kind of comes to mind, and I don't know if USP itself has plans in this space, although it seems like that would be a good fit for them to get involved in.
NSF, I think.
And NSF is another one, yep. So these organizations exist in the botanical realm in general, but they don't seem to have jumped into hemp and CBD and other cannabinoids just yet.
Yeah, we tell people pay attention to the toughest regulations in the country since it is a patchwork. We tend to say Colorado's got very tough regulations. Oregon has got very tough regulations when it comes to pesticides. Florida when it comes to heavy metal. Because if you work in a space where these regulations aren't coming or aren't there yet, they're coming. So you need to build your products with that in mind, because you don't want to be changing your formulations every time a new regulation comes around. All right, so that's be mindful of that when you're building your products. I do want to speak to a little bit more on the subject of building novel CBD formulations. Now, the majority of people out there, and it's changing every day, have a general CBD tincture or tablet or lotion, right? Not really targeted, right? And so your novel CBD formulations will come in that form. They're going to come in the form of a targeted cause and effect, or they're going to come in a form of a flavor, right? When you're building a simple CBD tincture, right? That's one product. By adding other botanical items, essential oils, terpenes, or flavors, you can take that one bottle and turn them into 4 different products. So now what you've done is you went from 1 shelf slot to 4 shelf slots. You went from selling an item to selling a lifestyle. You went from selling a product to a program, right? By using, other type of additives, to your point, the kava, right? A certain terpene blend. You can have an awake formula, an after lunch energy pick-me-up, an after work stress reliever, and an after, and a go to bed one. So now you've taken your general CBD tincture by adding a few components to it. You've now turned it into 4 different products. Not a lot of heavy lifting, right? You've gotten more shelf space. You have more products to sell to people, and it's a better story to tell people. People will tend to gleam to programs, to lifestyles, much more than like individual little items. Just to throw that out there, would you rather go on a diet or the Atkins diet, right? You put Atkins diet on there, and I'll say it's this big special program, lifestyle type of thing. So always kind of keep that in mind when you're building these products. Guys, anybody want to add to that? Anything?
Yeah, actually,
Yeah, please.
So for example, we have a Become line of vape cartridges that blends CBD and THC in different ratios, and also has different terpenes to elicit different effects. And something that we've noticed that people don't typically buy ratios because they don't understand those, but they do buy moods. And so we have Become Elevated, which has a citrusy terpenes and a certain ratio of CBD and THC that is more energetic, and we have Become Mellow, which is more relaxing, theoretically maybe help you to sleep, and has terpenes that go along with that. And so, yeah, people don't come in and say, I want a 3-to-2 THC to CBD ratio, but they do say, hey, I want to become mellow, or I want to become elevated, and kind of go with the mood.
My knee hurts. Help me with my knee.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a bit of a cynic of just flavoring for flavoring's sake, or having multiple bottles. It's not the shelf space. In my home, it's my sink space, and I clutter it up with many things, believe me. But what I definitely have seen, just absolutely definitively, is on the topicals. Because here we don't need to eat these things. You want to eat essential oils. You never want to do that. So, but the interactions with the different botanicals. It's not just the scent thing. There's terpenes in those, and they marry up with the CBD and the other oils in it, and they do have a specific effects.
Guys, we're going to open this up for questions. Does anybody have any questions? Please, sir, there's a microphone there, or you can just yell it. Oh, it's not on? I don't know where I got it. Yeah, good.
Well,
Correct.
so
You can allude to things.
yeah.
Right.
Sure. Tyrell, you might be able to go a little deeper on this than me, but I'll start with scratching the surface. I have people come, now just so you know, I come from a chefing background, right, guys? So this is all recipes and ingredients to me. I have people come up to my booth all the time. Come on, man, does this really make you sleepy? Right? And basically what I say to them is, I'll let you argue with 2,000 years of aromatherapy. Now, the studies on these types of things are just really starting to kind of get into full swing. The government's a little bit behind the industry for sure. Like, I can probably tell you that Tyrell probably knows more about terpenes and what they do to your body than probably most scientists in the government do. honestly, because they're a little bit far behind on it. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. 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 No.
So,
No. No,
Well, no.
You can't say it. You
Can't say
it.
anything medicinally.
Yeah, you got to be careful. Like
so the
yeah, but you can put right. You can put midnight mint on there and allude to the fact that it's sleepy.
Sleepy, yeah.
Right. You can put like right, but happy. Sure.
Right.
yeah, you can say certain things. So there's a difference between a medical claim and
Yeah.
then structure function claims
Right.
with the FDA. So they provide guidance on actually how to word things, and it has to do with kind of like a positive light. So supports response to pain relief, or yeah.
Yeah, but beyond that, honestly, the absolute best way to approach this would be to have your formulation set. This is going to be the formulation, and then do actual scientific studies, starting with rodent models and then moving up into humans. And then once you have a peer-reviewed and published study, you have something to make a claim off of. You can actually say,
Right.
proof this specific product.
Yeah. The answer is
Yeah, it doesn't really matter what drives it. It's really specific to your product, and it also is anti-competitive in a way. Like, you can't just if I make a product that contains components X, Y, Z, and then I do all these studies, pay all this money, I can claim this specific product has this effect, but you can't replicate it and still make that claim based on my studies.
Yeah, I think the answer to your question, I'm going to be super snarky, is very carefully. Because we're you could say like a soda pop could say wonderful things, but there's somebody out there that's going to hate your product, and it's going to be a regulator, right? Well, lawyers work for regulators. It's, Indeed, indeed. And it behooves us to be very careful of what anything we put on a label, on our website, and a brochure, and everything else, and just assume that a regulator is going to read it.
Yeah, and unfortunately,
I'm in the same boat. Yeah.
Right. Health Canada is even worse. Right. We work in in Canada, and Health Canada is even worse. You can't name something that's a name that provides pleasure to a human. So they couldn't name one of their tinctures Party. They couldn't name it Party because the Health Canada said, well, that's just too fun. They couldn't do Milkshake. They couldn't name something Milkshake because it provides pleasure in Canada. So, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And thank you. Yeah. Any other questions? No? Guys, anything else we'd like to bring to the forefront? Well, all of us will be available for any questions after this. We appreciate you guys coming and sitting in. Thank you very much. And thanks for coming. Appreciate you.